So we have two new banners actually in the current rotation featuring Zahhak and Ilynav. We're just going to be talking about which one of these you want to pull for and which one of their artifacts are actually worth your powder. Now, if you guys don't have a lot of bookmarks saved up like I do, you guys might want to skip because we do have Janua, a new fire thief coming out who looks pretty amazing, and honestly, you guys are probably going to want to pull for him. He looks pretty strong, borderline broken. Of course, that's without testing him out yet. But anyways, let's actually talk about the two banners here. So we have two banners, Zahhak and Ilynav. I'm just going to go through it very quickly here. So Ilynav, not really worth it. This unit is pretty niche. There was a time period she was actually not bad for PvP. She was good on like Guild Wars defense because you can actually stack injuries and, you know, shut down units such as like Lethe and Apoc Ravi when you would pair her with like Navy Captain Landy defenses. Not really needed anymore. And in PvE, she's only really used in some one-shot comps, but you don't really need her there. You can use other units instead. Just really niche. So yeah, I think she's not really worth pulling for. Her skills have a lot of text, but they don't really do anything. They just kind of land injuries. And although she's good at landing injuries, there's just units that are better at landing injuries, and injury set just kind of makes her a little bit obsolete, I'd say, unless she gets something updated to her kit. Then we have her artifact here, Knight exclusive, crit chance increase. If you attack, if you crit, the next attack is more damage. It's pretty meh. Like, knights have too many good artifacts, and any knight that wants to do damage, you're pretty much always going to run them on an Elbrus, because it just gives you a counterattack chance, and just your counterattacks will do a lot more. So because of that, her artifact is pretty doo-doo. Definitely don't want to buy this either. Now, if we talk about Zahhak, though, this unit is the GOAT for sure, especially for free-to-play players. That is because his S3 will give him increased hit chance, which will be very good against evasion units. He can one-shot pretty much every single Savior Aiden out there, every single Remnant Violet, and pretty much every single like Green Violet. Because of this hit chance, he bypasses evasion with it. He also gets increased crit chance, so you actually don't need that much crit on him, you only need 50%. He also has an attack buff for himself with his S2. If you use the exclusive equipment for him, this will give an attack buff to him and another ally. He can also cleanse an ally. He can CR push himself, or not himself, another ally besides himself. And then his S3 will also put injuries to shut down health bruisers and also give him invincibility so he lasts until the next turn. And then his S1 does a crap ton of damage. When you soul burn this does insane amount of damage against buff targets. It's really ridiculous actually. So one of the best damage dealers for PvP. You use him all the time in Guild Wars offense. He is seen sometimes in like RT World Arena against Savior Aidens mostly. And in general, he's just very strong. You can always just pick him and he will just, you know, one-shot a ton of units. Also in PvE, he's pretty decent, I'd say. He has built-in cleansing, so it makes him good in some boss fights where you need cleansers. For example, Nightmare Raid in the Juleeve Council boss, I believe you can bring him there and he's pretty strong. And just as a single target damage dealer, he does a ton of damage. I know you can't put injuries on bosses, but it doesn't matter. His S3 still hits really hard, and his S1 is redonk. It hits so hard. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, I think Zahhak is a unit that you definitely need on your account. But I'm pretty sure he's available from this story summon, so you can actually do is probably skip out on him if you're waiting for Janua to come out to pull on him, and then, you know, pick this up later on. But if you do have the bookmarks, he's a very good option to go for because he is very powerful. Now for his artifact, so after using a non-attack skill, you get increased speed and increased crit hit damage of the next attack by whatever percent, depending on what you have leveled to. Honestly, it seems very good on Zahhak because you S2 and then you S3 after, but you don't really need it. I think this artifact's not that great on him. You actually want him on Symbol of Unity. Most Symbol of Unities, I'd say, on like late game players' builds are going to be on Zahhak, and that is because he gets 50% hit chance, if I can find it. He gets 50% hit chance from his S3, and then you get an extra 20 here. And evasion units have 50% built in usually, and then they have 20% from their artifact, so it just counters all of their evasion. If you don't have Symbol of Unity on him or a hit chance artifact, you run the risk of missing still, even though it's very unlikely. And you don't really want that to happen. If he misses, it's pretty much useless. So yeah, you definitely want him on Symbol of Unity. And this artifact's not really used on any other unit, I believe, so probably not worth getting at all. I think if I can check here. Usage statistics, I have it on my Helga for PvE. Yeah, it can be used on these units, but for the most part, not really that great, so easy skip. Only thing really worth on these two banners is Zahhak. You can always get him later, but he's an insane unit, and you will not regret getting him.